Can the Atom token provide life-changing returns? On this channel, we only cover assets that are in the early stages of a mega trend and have that potential, right? Obviously, digital assets, brand new. So we want to find the assets that have the ability to survive and thrive in the future. Cosmos slash Atom, we're going to look at, we take all the fluff, all the hype out of these markets and look at the actual fundamentals. So what the Cosmos Hub is a standard fast layer one blockchain. What makes the Cosmos Hub unique is that a whole bunch of different high quality projects have used the Cosmos Hub technology to build their own project. So all these projects in this map of zones use Cosmos Hub technology. This is the Cosmos Hub right here. So what they're doing is connecting all these different projects that use Cosmos technology with each other into an economic zone of digital assets, right? So this is a powerful economic zone, right? So we have Celestia in here, we have Axelar in here, we have Injective, the Injective protocol in here. We have Arai Chain, the AI asset. This is a deep ecosystem. We have DYDX. That is a massive exchange. So we have the Akash network, right? An AI decentralized computing asset. And so clearly just an enormous asset. Clearly the Cosmos Hub provides valuable technology that's powering this enormous ecosystem. Now, the beauty of this ecosystem is that they can all be connected. They can all speak to each other because they use the same technology. Now, all the value of osmosis, for example, won't flow to Cosmos, right? That's where this asset gets interesting. If the value of this massive network accrued onto the Cosmos blockchain, it'd be a no-brainer, massive 1000x from here, right? But that's not what's happening. Cosmos is the model home in the neighborhood that all these other assets are imitating, essentially, right? But it gets very interesting, right? Crypto is all about network effects. What makes good crypto? Good tokenomics, good adoption, good technology. Clearly, it has great technology because all these other assets are using it. We'll get into the tokenomics, but the adoption is the question, right? How much is this being used? Well, in the last 30 days of all the assets in this ecosystem, the Cosmos Hub blockchain, which is governed by the Atom token, had 227,000 monthly active users. That's more than Celestia, which has a lot of hype. That's more than Osmosis, which is a massive exchange. And that's more than Injective, which also gets a lot of hype. And it's more than SEI, right? So clearly, there is building and usage going on top of this asset. Total transactions, it's not in the top 10. Now, what this graphic shows is the inter-blockchain communication protocol, right? Where is all the information flowing within this massive ecosystem? Because the goal is for Cosmos to ultimately accrue some of the value and activity and network effects of this ecosystem. So if we look at the IBC transfers, Cosmos Hub is actually number 3. Right? So these are transfers within and among these assets. We have Osmosis, Celestia, Cosmos Hub, Neutron, Noble, and then Injective. So it could be argued just based purely on the fundamentals here that Cosmos has more adoption than Injective currently. That's pretty massive for Cosmos. So that's where we are, right? It is an important piece of this massive ecosystem. The question is, will it specifically grow in adoption and usage? So clearly the technology is solid. The use case of the token is solid. Why? Because it gives you a voting stake over everything that goes on within the Cosmos Hub ecosystem, which has plenty of usage already. And I've heard the founder talk about how the Atom token gives some influence over the IBC, this very valuable inter-blockchain communication protocol that's connecting all of this. So clearly, good technology, good use case, governance, and some decent on-chain fundamentals so far, right? But let's dive deeper because the adoption isn't quite clear. Who is actually going to use the Atom token? That's the big question, right? With this massive ecosystem, well, who is actually going to use Cosmos Hub? It could be forgotten within this ecosystem. So that's where it gets very interesting. Well, if we look in Q1 2023 and we look at Q1 2024, the average daily active addresses have skyrocketed, right? 19K in 2023, 39K in 2024. Very positive. Average daily transactions on this network have grown from 44K to 151K. It's growing, right? IBC transfers in 319K a year ago, now 613K. They've doubled, right? IBC transfers out 317K to 924K. This is a sleeper asset, massive adoption and usage of this asset, right? Now, when it comes to tokenomics, it is currently very inflationary. Now, the token holders of the asset can vote to lower that inflation whenever they want, but currently the inflation in Q1 2024 is 11.9%. A year ago, it was 16%. So over time, it's expected that this inflation will diminish. Just like Bitcoin had a lot of inflation early on and it's diminished, a lot of these proof of stake assets are expected to slowly lower the inflation as the ecosystem starts to profit and benefit from organic growth, right? So the validators, the holders, the stakers of this token are going to be rewarded in actual revenue earned instead of inflation. So it's good that it's declining. It's not the end of the world that it's inflationary. Now, it has hurt the price in the short term. In a bear market, inflation is always going to hurt an asset. In a bull market, it won't matter at all. And Bitcoin and Ethereum have proved this. Where does all this revenue come from that it's generating? Well, it's primarily due to these spikes in inscription activity. So early on in the year, when we were in a bull market, there was just massive inscription NFT activity moving to different blockchains. Cosmos got a piece of that, and that caused the spike in revenue. So it's not necessarily a massive increase quarter over quarter if you back that out. But if you look at this uptrend in revenue, it's in an uptrend. So it's starting to take advantage of its network effects, of its importance within the IBC ecosystem. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. There's a lot of uncertainty about how the asset will actually be used, right? It's just right now, Atom and the Cosmos Hub, a model home in the neighborhood, right? Who will actually use it? Well, they're starting to develop ways of taking advantage of the massive network that they've created, right? One of them is interchain security. In Q1, the DYM airdrop was distributed in part to Atom stakers, right? Showing that the ideological alignment still exists with new builders. The Saga airdrop was also announced to be eligible to Atom stakers. And Aether went even further, pledging 40% of its upcoming airdrop to Atom stakers. And so a lot of these smaller projects are really aligned with the Atom ecosystem. Stride and Neutron received replicated security, and Osmosis enables fees to be paid with Atom. Other networks, such as Kujira or Agoric, rely on Atom for much of their liquidity. So this is how the Cosmos Hub slowly starts to increase in value within this ecosystem. Now, what is replicated security that Stride and Neutron have taken advantage of? These are brand new technological developments. Replicated security is a form of shared security. It is the Atom economics and strategy being explored most by the Cosmos Hub community and other interchain networks. Shared security refers to allowing the validators of one network to use stake on that chain to participate in the consensus of another network. As of Q1, Neutron and Stride are the only chains utilizing replicated security. So they're using the big governance ecosystem on the Cosmos Hub to provide security and governance within their own communities, right? So replicating the security of Atom. Now, what are these two assets, right? We have Neutron and we have Stride. Well, this is Neutron's TVL growing. That's positive, right, in pink. Astroport is the main asset, right? So we really have to dive deep into what is actually being built on these assets to understand it. Astroport is a marketplace, essentially, for digital assets, right? And so it's growing, it's being used. They chose Neutron. It has between 50 and $60 million of TVL. So some of that value is accruing to the Cosmos ecosystem. Now, Stride provides liquid staking for Celestia and the Cosmos ecosystem. Again, they also are using the replicated security from Atom. So some of this value is moving to Atom. And if you look at Stride's TVL, we have in blue a bunch of that in Atom, in pink Osmosis, and then in red we see Celestia. right? So this is kind of a glimpse into this ecosystem, nothing crazy, right? But there is over $100 million of TVL on Stride. So that's where we are currently. It's an early stage asset, high risk, because we don't know what the adoption is going to be of this asset in the future. But what we do know is that it's currently growing in adoption. That's massive. And we also know they're figuring out different ways of accruing value onto the network. Very, very interesting, right? So high risk, high reward, obviously plenty of growth currently, plenty of usage, plenty of excitement. It's beating a lot of other assets that are valued more than it. So what we want is to buy digital land in the digital Wild West early before it's discovered. This is digital land. Maybe it doesn't look like it's about to be the Manhattan of the new world, but it definitely has a place in the new world. That's where it gets exciting, right? It's like it's almost guaranteed to survive given its network effects, given its community, given its growing usage. So if it can survive, it will do extremely well. The only risk is it might not get as much adoption as you would expect, but in every bull market, the adoption seems to increase. Right now, the market cap of the Atom token is an absolutely tiny $1.6 billion. I would say, given the network effects, given its role in the IBC, the Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol, given how each Atom token gives you a voting stake over this growing ecosystem, I would say that's undervalued because we've seen way less quality assets with market caps higher than this, right? So I would say it's undervalued. In the previous bull market, it went from 5 to 10x, right? So can it 10x in the next bull market? It could. It's a little concerning that it's given up all its gains from early 2024 and it's climbing lower. But again, it doesn't really matter. Short-term price action is meaningless. If you cared about short-term price action, you would have sold the Atom token here, right? At the worst possible time to sell it before a 20x move in the Atom token. So it's a thriving, growing ecosystem. We want assets with big adoption. This one has adoption. Tokenomics aren't the best, but it is inflationary. It's similar to Polkadot. Inflation doesn't matter if there's adoption, period, right? Just like with Bitcoin, did not matter that there was massive inflation early on because there was massive adoption. Same with Ethereum, huge inflation, right? So not too worried about the tokenomics there, but they're not like ideal. They're not BitTensor tokenomics. And there isn't a significant burn mechanism like ICP has. And then as far as the technology goes, clearly it's solid layer one technology. Clearly the fact that you get on-chain governance is important. And clearly the fact that it's an integral part of the IBC chain ecosystem. Maybe not the only important part, but it is an important part of that ecosystem, speaks to the fact that it does have technology. So it's a decent asset, massive upside if they can survive, which isn't unlikely, but also risk if the bear market lasts another 2 years and adoption is slow. But overall, that's Atom.